Hi, welcome to Listen2Riches. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a book titled Find Your Why with a subtitle, A Practical Guide for Discovering Purpose for You and Your Team. How to find your why, you ask? In simple terms, it urges us to express or strategize in the order of why, how, and what. At first glance, this may not seem particularly groundbreaking, but please note that it challenges the logic sequence we typically use in our everyday thinking. You see, when we usually introduce a product or a plan to someone, don't we often start by explaining what it is, then delve into how it works, and finally touch upon why it exists in the first place? In various scenarios like sales pitches and presentations, you've probably encountered this sequence. However, why thinking flips this order on its head. It begins with why, which is your goal, belief, or vision, followed by how, which outlines the plan, resources, or strategy, and concludes with the specifics of what needs to be done or what it is. For example, when Apple promotes their computers, they say something like this: "Everything we do is to challenge and innovate to change the world." We believe in thinking differently than others. Our means of changing the world is by creating beautifully designed, user-friendly products. In this process, we've designed this fantastic computer. Would you like to give it a try? This is actually a typical application of why thinking. This example comes from a TED Talk by the author of this book, the renowned marketing expert Simon Sinek, titled, How Great Leaders Inspire Action. In this talk, Sinek reveals a secret: inspiring leaders, those who truly motivate, start their thinking, actions, and communication with why, and this is the most crucial aspect of why thinking. Sinek's discovery is not just the result of studying public speeches by numerous global leaders and company founders, it also stems from his own painful experiences. There was a time when he lost all passion for his work. Many people advised him, telling him to do what he loves, find happiness, and be passionate. But he found that while these pieces of advice were true, they didn't really help him personally. So, what changed for him later on? The author says it was because he found his why. His why was to inspire people to do things that would inspire them so that everyone could contribute to changing the world. This why became a powerful force in his life. Armed with this why, he not only reignited his passion for work but also gained a clearer direction, enabling better decision-making amidst various choices. He later discovered, through extensive observation of the real world, that starting with why in thinking, expression, and decision-making brings even more benefits. It helps you gain more trust from others, makes you more visionary than your competitors, and leads to longer-lasting success. These findings were summarized as why thinking and passionately presented in his talks, receiving a warm response. Subsequently, he conducted further research and wrote a book titled Start with Why. However, many people found it challenging to embrace why thinking in practice because they couldn't find their why. More specifically, they struggled to identify the beliefs or inner motivations behind their actions. So, Simon Sinek, along with his two friends, David Mead and Peter Docker, authored Find Your Why. This book not only comprehensively explains the principles of Find Your Why, but also provides detailed action guidelines to help individuals discover their why and activate Find Your Why. The following audio is divided into two parts. In the first part, we will discuss the principles and applications of Find Your Why. In the second part, we will delve into how to start with why thinking and create your own unique why circle. First, let's delve into the principles behind the golden circle thinking. The author provides a biological basis for this concept. When we examine a cross-section of the human brain, we find two major functional regions. Towards the outer layer, we have the cerebral cortex, responsible for rational and logical thinking, as well as language functions. Going deeper inside are the left and right limbic brains, responsible for all our emotions, such as trust and loyalty, as well as all our behaviors and decisions. I've included a comparative diagram of the brain's major functional regions alongside the golden circle in the document. The author points out that when we communicate with someone, starting from the outermost layer of the golden circle, which is what we are essentially transmitting information to the cerebral cortex. It will analyze and process this information rationally, but it may not be sufficient to stimulate action. However, if we start from the innermost layer of the golden circle, which is why, we can bypass the cerebral cortex and engage directly with the limbic brain, which controls behavior and decision-making. This makes it easier to trigger emotional resonance in the other person, prompting them to respond to you. The author gives an example of Martin Luther King's speech in Washington, D.C. in the summer of 1963. At that time, 250,000 people gathered to hear his speech, which we all know about, but have you ever found it a bit peculiar? Martin Luther King wasn't the greatest or most famous speaker in America at the time, nor was he the only person facing discrimination before the Civil Rights Act. There was no internet, so he couldn't spread the word through tweets. Yet, so many people traveled from all over the country to hear him speak on a scorching summer day. The author suggests that this is because Martin Luther King didn't go around proclaiming what America needed to change. He kept emphasizing and spreading the things he believed in. This way, he attracted those who shared his beliefs, and these people, in turn, passed on this faith to others, rallying even more individuals. So, the 250,000 people who listened to his speech weren't there for Martin Luther King, they were there for their own beliefs. They weren't following a specific individual, they were following a belief. Martin Luther King understood this, which is why his speech was titled, "I Have a Dream," and not "I Have a Plan." Therefore, if we were to summarize the principles of golden circle thinking, it would be to bypass information and strike at beliefs, bypass rationality, and engage with emotions. So, how can we apply golden circle thinking? When I first encountered golden circle thinking, I felt that its application was incredibly broad. Categorized by scenarios, it is suitable for various situations like speeches, communication, sales, management, job hunting, and many more. Categorized by users, individuals, groups, companies, and organizations can all use it. However, this might leave people feeling uncertain about how to use it in a specific context. The author also noticed this kind of confusion among readers. He provides a clever perspective by categorizing the use of golden circle thinking into two types, tools and puzzles. Let's first talk about tools. We know that many tools are built around a core function that can have multiple applications. For instance, the core function of a hammer is to apply pressure or force to other objects, but it can be used for various tasks, from driving nails to breaking walls and even constructing an entire building. Similarly, golden circle thinking is a tool with a core function of helping users more effectively influence or transform the external world, including people, ideas, or environments. Around this core function, it can be applied in various ways. It can assist in conveying one's ideas effectively, making a memorable impression in interviews, designing speeches, motivating teams, and more. Entrepreneurs can use it to inspire marketing campaigns or reshape their company culture. In essence, around a core function, multiple applications can be derived. Now, let's consider a few specific scenarios. First, let's talk about speeches. On the Get website, there's a course titled Becoming a Speech Master, hosted by Wang Yuhao, who discusses the golden circle thinking model. He suggests that this model is particularly suitable for delivering speeches about introducing a product or a project. Moreover, if you incorporate a story into each of the three circles, it can result in a compelling speech. He gives an example of Mark Zuckerberg's Chinese speech at Tsinghua University in 2015. He began by saying, "Today, I want to talk about changing the world," and then proceeded to tell three stories. The first story was about why he wanted to create Facebook, why he wanted to change the world. The second story was about how to change the world, focusing on the importance of focus. The third story was about what to do, where he urged everyone to look forward and never give up. Finally, he concluded by saying, "You can become global leaders, you can use the internet to influence the world," which tied back to the theme of changing the world. In this way, he used golden circle thinking to eloquently convey a grand theme. Moving on from speeches, let's talk about interviews. The author shares a real-life example in the book involving a recent graduate named Emily who was interviewing at a large multinational company. The interviewers wanted to assess whether Emily was a fit for their corporate culture and how she handled pressure. They asked her, "There are many outstanding applicants for this position. What advantages do you have that they don't?" Emily took a moment to think and responded, "Before discussing what I can bring to your company, I'd like to talk about what motivates me to get up every day. My drive is to help others be their best selves, and that's what motivates me. Based on the information on your company's website, I believe this aligns with your values. So why wouldn't I want to be a part of your team?" This statement piqued the interest of the interviewers. They stopped flipping through her resume and started paying full attention. Following this introduction, Emily proceeded with the more standard self-promotion techniques, discussing her plans and skills. What Emily effectively used was golden circle thinking, starting with why. This allowed her to directly engage with the interviewer's limbic brain, the decision-making brain, and make them intuitively feel that this girl was a good fit for the company. Later, Emily was promptly notified that she had been hired. Golden circle thinking can also serve as a communication tool. I came across an interesting case where a parenting expert named He Xiaoying discussed how young parents often clash with their own parents on parenting issues in her book. In such situations, golden circle thinking can be applied for communication. He gives an example where a child is of age to attend kindergarten and the child's grandfather insists on sending them to a prestigious school far away. However, the child's mother prefers a nearby option for convenience. In this case, you can use golden circle thinking for communication, breaking it down into 3 steps. Firstly, start with why. The mother might say to the grandfather, "Dad, I know you care deeply about our child's education and we all want what's best for them. So we're on the same page there." Then move on to how, articulating both sides' perspectives while expressing understanding. For example, she might acknowledge the grandfather's point about the prestigious school's excellent faculty while expressing concerns about school bus safety and the time spent on commuting. Lastly, address specific actions like suggesting that they both visit a few nearby kindergartens next week, talk to parents who have experience with these schools, and then make an informed decision together. By following this 3-step communication method inspired by golden circle thinking, both parties can avoid conflicts while finding a course of action for the next steps. So, we've covered the utility of golden circle thinking as a tool. Now, let's discuss the use of the golden circle as a puzzle. We can understand the term puzzle on 2 levels. Firstly, within the golden circle, there are 3 parts, and each part can be seen as a puzzle piece. These 3 pieces must fit together, meaning the internal components of a golden circle must remain consistent. For instance, if a company wants to ensure its long-term success, what it does and how it does it should not deviate from the original why. It's akin to a car company that initially aimed to produce affordable cars for the masses. It shouldn't suddenly introduce a high-end luxury product line. If you start by saying you want to change the world through innovation, then don't rush into profit-driven expansion. Examples like these emphasize that for a company, articulating its why allows it to make its intangible values tangible, forming a puzzle piece. With this puzzle piece, a company's strategic planning and decision-making can align more clearly. The second layer of meaning in using the golden circle as a puzzle is that when you know what your puzzle piece looks like, you can more easily filter out people or organizations that align with your puzzle. The book employs an interesting analogy. If a company is likened to a tree, its roots and trunk represent its origin and foundation, and its branches contain many bird nests, which are the teams that depend on this tree. Each nest houses many birds like interdependent family members. As individuals, we understand our why to find the right tree and nest for ourselves. As businesses, we understand our why to attract and screen the right birds. And every team within a company, each nest on the tree, also needs to clarify its why. On one hand, this is to better serve the company's vision, and on the other hand, it ensures that the right birds are brought into the nest, those who resonate with the team's why and can contribute effectively through collaboration to achieve the company's vision. So, having covered the principles and applications of golden circle thinking, let's now discuss how to ignite it. Firstly, it's crucial to understand that, within the golden circle thinking framework, one part is particularly challenging. The author points out that almost everyone knows what they are doing, such as the products they sell, the services they provide, or the work they engage in. Some people also know how they do it, like the advantages or plans that set them apart from others. However, very few can clearly articulate why they do what they do. Some might say it's for making money, but the author emphasizes that money is not the motivator. The why we're looking for is a deeper intrinsic motivation, the driving force behind every business's operations and an individual's pursuit of their career goals, ideals, and beliefs. Every day, as explained in this book, intrinsic motivation possesses a more potent force than external incentives like money or fame. It's only when we act based on intrinsic motivation rather than being coerced by external forces that we can achieve true autonomy and lasting happiness. The same principle applies to businesses. Although profit-driven organizations may temporarily outperform value-driven or belief-driven ones, such success is unsustainable because, in the long run, they cannot gain loyalty, trust, and innovation. Qualities that are achievable by organizations with higher-level goals. However, in reality, many businesses or individuals struggle to find their intrinsic motivation, or in other words, they can't find their why. This is a significant challenge people encounter when applying golden circle thinking. So, in this book, the author delves into the most critical question, how to find your why. The book provides 3 main steps. Firstly, the first step is to collect stories. This step requires us to dig into our most profound memories and pivotal moments from our accumulated experiences, the people we've met, and our life experiences. By doing this, we essentially re-establish a connection between our current selves and our past selves, uncovering the most significant elements that have shaped us today. Take the example of one of the author's friends. This friend had once earned a full university scholarship through basketball, but later lost it due to drug abuse and alcoholism. He not only lost his scholarship, but also his dreams and self-identity. He ended up working in a bar, still struggling with addiction, and even contemplated suicide. However, a pivotal moment occurred unexpectedly. One day, after finishing work, he was driving home and saw a young girl selling lemonade on the roadside. Normally, he wouldn't have stopped, but that day, he was driven by an inexplicable impulse to pull over. He ordered a 25-cent lemonade from the girl, and as she went to get it, he took out all the coins he had collected from tips at work, almost $40 from his car's cup holder. When the girl handed him the lemonade, he handed her handfuls of coins, one after another. With each handful, he could see the joy in her eyes. That day, as he drove away, he felt inexplicably happy, and the subsequent events, even to him, were unexpected. A sense of happiness and wonder filled his heart, and this sudden emotion even brought tears to his eyes. The author, upon hearing this story, began to help his friend unearth the deeper meaning behind it. His friend realized that the reason this incident had left a deep impression was that it was the first time in his life he felt important. He discovered, for the first time, that doing something for others could make him so happy. He urgently wanted to help more people experience this kind of happiness and feel that they could do more, become more important individuals. Later, the friend shared several more stories that had left a deep impression on him. The author and his friend then sifted through these stories and identified a common thread running through most of them, a thread called service. This was the second step in finding the why, discovering the theme. This step involves uncovering the themes that run through your life by sharing and discussing your stories with others. The next step is the third one, crafting a one-sentence statement about your why based on the themes identified earlier. The author reminds us that this one-sentence statement should be clear and actionable, focusing on the impact you will have on others. Express it with a thought process like this: I want to make a contribution by doing this so that it has this effect on others. For example, the one-sentence statement that this friend ultimately found was, I want to inspire others to realize their tremendous potential so that they can find the motivation to do more in life. This encapsulated the contribution he hoped to make through service and the impact it would have on others. You may have noticed that in the process we just described, the author played a guiding role in facilitating the examination. The book suggests that if you want to follow these 3 steps to find your why, you should also choose a partner to play the role of the author because, typically, the person who can comprehensively examine you and discover important themes in your stories is your partner, not yourself. When selecting a partner, the author advises against choosing someone who is too familiar with you, such as your spouse, close relatives, or intimate friends, as they might struggle to remain objective and could even interject their own perspective into your stories. The best choice is someone who doesn't know too much about your past stories but makes you feel comfortable and who is willing to share personal experiences with you. So, what stories should we share with them? Many people struggle with this question, feeling that they have nothing worth sharing. The book provides 2 small methods to help us unearth our own stories. The first method is to draw a horizontal line on a piece of paper. Above the line, record memories you consider joyful, stories you'd love to revisit. Each one can be summarized in just a few words. The stronger the positive impact a story has on you, the higher you can place it above the line. Below the line, record stories that you may not necessarily want to revisit but that have indeed influenced your life. The lower a story is placed, the greater its difficulty and impact on you. When you need to tell your partner a story, choose those from the peaks and valleys because they carry the most intense emotions and can, therefore, most clearly point toward your why. If you feel like you can't recall any important stories at all, you can try the second method, memory prompts. The book provides some references, and I've organized them into a table in the document. You can take a look and see if they can trigger memories of your past. So, after listing all your stories, you can start by sharing the top 3 stories that had the greatest impact on you with your partner. Your partner's role is to listen to your story while taking notes and asking targeted questions, forcing you to think deeply through the surface and helping you unearth the recurring themes and ideas in those stories. These form the basis of your why. Now, you might wonder, can all the stories I tell be summarized under a single theme? Wouldn't that be too forced? This skepticism is valid because the themes reflected in our different stories cannot be exactly the same. For example, you might share 3 stories. 2 of them reflect the theme of service, while the third involves long-term thinking. Following the author's advice, you can consider service as the foundation for shaping your why and incorporate long-term thinking into your how. We'll discuss this in more detail later. The 3 steps we just mentioned in the search for your why not only apply to individuals but also to companies or groups. The only difference is that in the context of companies or groups, the protagonist of the stories is no longer an individual but a group of people. In this scenario, the role of the partner can also be played by external consultants. Alright, we've discussed how to find your why, now let's talk about how to determine how. To recap, we found more than one theme from our stories. The author reminds us that these themes are, in fact, your strengths, the qualities that set you apart from others. These traits have paved a unique path for your growth and progress. Among these themes, the one that appears most frequently has already become your why. Now, the remaining themes will also come into play. For instance, to transform the theme of long-term thinking into how, you need to turn it from an adjective into a practical action. For example, you can phrase it as prioritizing long-term trends and momentum over specific numbers and dates as goals, or creating something that has a lasting impact on people's lives. Once you've determined how, the author reminds us to treat it as a filter when making significant decisions. For instance, like we mentioned earlier, prioritizing the long term has become a guiding criterion for the author himself. In his daily work, he applies this standard when assessing new projects or opportunities. Here's an example. Once, an executive approached the author with a proposal to transform their organization into a people-centric company. The author was intrigued and began to delve deeper into their collaborative approach. During the discussion, the executive mentioned that they needed to see board approval for investment as soon as possible to proceed. This raised a red flag for the author because this pursuit of quick results conflicted with the idea of prioritizing the long term. So, the author probed further and found that the board's expectations clashed with his how principle. Even though this large company could have been a significant project on the author's client list, he ultimately decided not to get involved. The author believes that when facing important projects, opportunities, or partnerships, applying the how mindset can help us anticipate potential challenges or conflicts that may arise in the future and prepare for them in advance. Additionally, this method can also be used in reverse when something doesn't feel right, but it's challenging to pinpoint the issue. Using the how checklist for verification can sometimes immediately reveal the root of the problem. Once you've found your why and determined your how, you can start taking action. The author suggests that in your next self-introduction or when someone asks about your profession, try starting with your why and, if possible, incorporate some stories. This will allow others to genuinely feel your qualities and principles. In summary, the Golden Circle mindset requires us to start with why when expressing ourselves or making decisions, followed by how, and finally, what to do. This mindset serves not only as a tool for various applications such as public speaking, interviews, marketing, and daily communication, but also as a puzzle piece to help us more effectively influence the external world and maintain a clear direction in planning and specific decision-making. At the core of the Golden Circle mindset is finding your why, the inner motivation that drives you to persist. Everyone has only one why, and by sincerely facing the past, sharing with partners, and being honest with ourselves, we can discover this why. It will be the unique path for our growth and progress. The above is the key content I wanted to share from the book, How to Start with Why. Now, let's summarize. The Golden Circle mindset requires us to start with why when expressing ourselves or making decisions, followed by how, and finally, what to do. This book divides the use of the Golden Circle mindset into two categories, a tool and a puzzle piece. As a tool, the Golden Circle mindset can help users more effectively influence or transform the external world as seen in scenarios such as public speaking, interviews, marketing, and daily communication. As a puzzle piece, it helps us maintain our original purpose and direction when planning and making specific decisions, making it easier to filter or attract those who resonate with us, be they individuals or organizations. Regarding how to initiate the Golden Circle mindset, the author believes that the most critical step is finding your why, the inner motivation that drives every organization and individual to persevere. The book provides 3 main steps, including collecting stories, discovering themes, and crafting a one-sentence statement. In today's explanation, we mainly focused on individuals, but if a group wants to find its why, they can generally follow these 3 steps. Finally, regarding the Golden Circle mindset, the author believes that the most important element is why. Why is like a thread that can guide us to showcase our best and provide the greatest satisfaction. However, many people may feel that finding their unique why seems overly idealistic. So, what if I don't have a unique why, or what if I have multiple? In the book's appendix, the author answers many questions from consultees, providing us with a firm guideline. Everyone has only one why. The key to finding your unique path lies in sincerity. Sincerely face the past, review the river of memories, and seek those moments buried in the mud, much like searching for nuggets of gold. Be sincere with partners, open your heart, and share those precious moments with them. Most importantly, be sincere with yourself. The inner self remains unchanged regardless of the circumstances. Seek those moments in both work and life that motivate and satisfy you, whether in good times or bad. These will be the best supporting forces to help you clarify your why. In conclusion, the above is the essence of this book. It encourages us to start with why and seek and adhere to our unique why with sincerity. This will be the source of motivation for our continuous growth and progress. Congratulations on completing another book. Thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice and achieve our financial goals. Create a better future. Thank you and see you next time.